Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. We are from Group 4 and would like to present our topic, which is personal financing based on Inah in Malaysia and its alternative. Before we further this presentation, I would like to introduce my team members. Firstly, me, Nur Nazira Balkis binti Muhammad Niman, and my teammates Nur Fitrah, Nur Syafiqah, Siti Akira and Siti Nur Anis. Next, as shown in this slide, we will discuss about the development of personal financing in Malaysia, how the implementation of contract Inah in Malaysia, view of Muslim scholars towards Inah and the opinion used in Malaysia, the factor in prohibition of Inah contract, and lastly, conclusion for this discussion.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Akira binti Pandi and I will explain about the personal financing in Malaysia. Personal financing is a financial facility that is usually offered by banks. This product is offered to provide cash facilities to customers as well as make it easy for them to obtain a product or a service for personal use for easy payment. There are three main features in personal financing, namely, first is the businesses and procedure of obtaining personal financing is easier than applying for other financing such as home financing and so on. Number two is the repayment period is short as this financing offer a smaller amount of financing than other financing. Third is finance, goods and service are usually goods for customer purpose. In Malaysia, Islamic personal financing is usually offered by banks such as Maybank Islamic, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, RHB Islamic, Bank Muamalat and others. With the offer of this product, the community can get cash to spend on any kind of goods and their needs, in contrast to vehicle and housing financing product, where customers are not free to use the financing for other purpose. In addition, personal financing in the Islamic banking system is now usually based on one of three types of contract, namely Inah contract, Tawarruk and Arahnu contract. Even so, all three contracts have legal issues that are debated among the Islamic intellectuals, such as the debate among the Islamic economists about the necessity of the execution of contract, such as the Inah and Tawarruk contract. Of interest in this presentation related to this topic is that it aims to introduce a new approach in personal financing product that is seen as suitable to be implemented in the financial system today, and the product can be developed from the aspect of the implementation of operation in line with the public wishes for Islamic banking that is truly Sharia compliance. Also, with this presentation, we can find out if there is any Islamic relief that can be taken into account to allow personal financing contract that are available now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Syafiqah binti Alasan, and in my part, I will present about the implementation of Inah in Malaysia. So, the Islamic financing industry in the country has developed rapidly. Over the past 5 years, the Islamic banking sector in Malaysia has been growing. Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) has summarized the Inah method adopted in Malaysia as shown in this figure. To make it based on Sharia scholars, especially among the Shafi'i scholars, although the Inah mechanism as an alternative to conventional interest-based loan. Inah is used as an initiative as a way out of the problem of loans that have interest rate as opposed to its function as a loan that is based on a trick. So it is clear here that Inah is actually financing instrument based on sale and purchase. So through this following diagram, I would like to give an example of Inah personal financing instrument between a bank and a customer. Okay, for the firstly, at the first contract, CIMB Islamic Bank as a seller sells a car for RM46,000 to a customer at a different price for 5 years. So the customer has to pay back RM200 per month to the bank according to the contract agreement. Then in the second contract, the customer has to comply as the buyer resells the car to the bank, and the bank just have to pay RM4,000 in cash to the customer. So it's clear here. Part of Buy Inah is a conditional sale and purchase contract between the bank as the financer and the customer as the party in need of financing. Without a per contract agreement, the repurchase process between the contracting parties will not take place as the customer in need of financing does not derive any benefit from the asset transaction as a different price. The agreement to repurchase the assets so indicate the real intention of the contracting party behind the Al-Bainah instrument. So that's all for me. We'll give back to next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nana Zira Bakis binti Muhammad Animan. Next, I will present about view of Muslim scholar towards Buy Inah and the view that used in Malaysia. As we know, Buy Inah in terms of Islamic law and in the context of banking is trading to get cash immediately. However, there is a different opinion among Muslim scholars in determining the law of application. The disagreement on the law of Buy Inah is divided into two opinions. The first opinion is that Buy Inah is invalid, and the second opinion is that Buy Inah is permissible and valid in terms of Islamic law. Firstly, the first opinion stated that Buy Inah contract is invalid and fasid, even though outwardly both contracts are perfect in terms of their principle and condition of sale and purchase. On this view, it is supported by a large majority of jurists consisting of the Hanafi, Maliki and Hanbali. In fact, there are also opinions who support this opinion, namely Sayyidatina Aisyah, Ibn Abbas and Anas bin Malik. Next, here we can look at some of the fundamental argument for the view stating that Buy Inah contract is void and fasid. Among them is based on the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who gave a stern warning, taglis, against the dealing of Buy Inah. This hadith is narrated by Ibn Umar that the Prophet ﷺ said, "If people are greedy with dinar and dirham, trade in the way of Inah, and they follow the tails of cow in addition to abandoning jihad in the way of Allah, then Allah will send plagues on them, and Allah will not raise them until they return to the path of Allah." Then Ash-Shatibi also stated that the prohibition of Buy Inah is also based on the method of Sa'd al-Zura'i, which is based on two reasons. First of all, Buy Inah contract usually lead to the legalization of usuri. This is because the majority of the contracting parties have the value to obtain usuri. Next, the contradiction method of usul fiqh between the two main principles is that trading was originally permissible and the principle of preserving human beings from harms. When there is a conflict between these two principles, Islam prioritizes the second principle, which is to protect human beings from harm. Daf'u al-mudarrah muqaddam jab manfa'ah. Third, many laws forbid something even it was originally allowed because it always causes harm even if it is uncertain. Accordingly, the prohibition of Buy Inah is based on the sale and purchase transaction is considered to lead to a loan contract usuri that benefit the first seller or termed as a creditor in the actual context. Next, the second opinion stated that Buy Inah contract is valid and permissible if there are sufficient pillars and conditions of sale and purchase. This opinion consists of the Shafi'i and Zahiri. This view is based on the evidence from Al-Quran, Sunnah and Qiyas. Allah SWT said in Quran, Surah Baqarah, verse 275 means, "And Allah has made lawful trading and forbidden usuri." The istidlal for the above verse is that Buy Inah is classified as a lawful sale and purchase and not usuri based on the general will of the verse. Therefore, this opinion has adhered to the Zahir Nas by looking at a contract that is outwardly sufficient for these pillars and verse. In addition, they also compare Buy Inah to the sale of weapons to the rebel, quoting al-Tariq, and selling grape to winemakers based on the similarity of the ilah that exists between the two. What is meant by ilah is that when a contract satisfies its pillars and conditions, therefore it is not considered fasid. Apart from that, they also argue that the failure inherent in Inah is milder than the failure born of the sale of arms and grapes. This made the case that implication of the sale of weapon can be detrimental to the life and property of the people, while the implication of the sale of grapes affect the insanity. On the other hand, the implication of Inah only affect the property. Based on the opinion of previous jurists on Inah, the Sharia Advisory Council has decided to adopt the opinion of the Shafi'i and Zahiri that allow Inah. According to the decision of SAC, the Central Bank of Malaysia has prepared and explained guidelines and circular related to Inah contract to all Islamic banks in Malaysia as a guide in ensuring that the contracts are implemented and structured correctly. That's all for me. We will continue to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nufitrah binti Muhammad Jamil. Okay, I will continue about the issue that related the Inah contract prohibition factor is implemented in Malaysia. There is controversy in implementing Inah based personal financing products. Therefore, in this video, we would like to parse what are the factors that prohibit Inah as a contract in personal financing. Among the prohibitions of Inah contracts in personal financing that have been found are: first, prohibitions of requiring the sale and purchase of loans. Okay, the modern application of Inah is in no way to match his view because the element of riba is clearly present in the form of buying and selling in return for the financing of the borrower. Therefore, it is forbidden based on a hadith narrated by Abdullah ibn Amru, who said, "It is not permissible to give a loan to get a sale." Therefore, the purpose behind the ban of providing loans for sale and purchase is that when the financier provides a loan, the borrower will follow the financer's wishes on the details of the sale and purchase, such as price. In addition, financiers are able to control prices because of their influence in providing loans. This leaves the borrower with no other choice in determining the purchase price. Furthermore, such a transaction is a loan that has interest in terms of buying and selling in return. Moreover, this instrument only benefits one contracting party from the point of view of price uncertainty. Financiers as buyer can also enjoy lower price due to their influence as financiers. Meanwhile, financiers as sellers can enjoy higher price due to its influence as well. The second issue is relationship with illegal muwata'ah, which is pre-contract agreement. Alright, the previous of fuqaha did not give a clear meaning about muwata'ah. Based on the explanation of previous and contemporary fuqaha, muwata'ah can mean the agreement of the contracting parties explicitly or implicitly to hide their intention to commit tricks that lead to riba, but through a contract based on Sharia. Alright, there are several forms of pre-contractual agreement practice in the financing industry. First, pre-contractual agreement in tricks aimed at obtaining usury, such as planned by Inah and any tricks that lead to usury. An agreement is prohibited and any contract based on it is void. However, unplanned contracts are required, such as by Inah, which applies without a pre-contract agreement. Second, a pre-contract agreement to perform a contract that was initially required but becomes illegal when combined as a sale and purchase contract in return for obtaining loan financing. The two contracts are a must of done separately. Third, The pre-contract agreement to perform permissible trades coincides with the maqasid syara and does not cause harm. So, the maqasid behind the ban on entering into an invalid pre-contract agreement is because it leads to trades that are prohibited by Sharia. Okay, I think that's all for me and I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, I am Inah binti Muhammadiyah. We will continue the next presentation in terms of discussion on these topics. Bayyinah is one of the Sharia concepts that there is still room for discussion to this day about it. It is a necessity. It is commonly used by some Islamic bank institutions in Malaysia as the basic contracts in providing personal financing and credit card offering to customers. However, there are some view and argument that are clear about the existence of riba in Bayyinah products. So the concept of tawarruk was introduced instead of Bayyinah products. There are tawarruk contracts indirectly as an alternative to the buy-in contracts. Tawarruk has been introduced in Malaysia as an alternative to the buy-in, which has sparked various controversies among Islamic financial scholars. Nevertheless, the plain implementation of tawarruk in the Islamic banking industry has met with opposition from scholars due to the current application that are said to not comply with Sharia guidelines. In Malaysia, in particular, personal financing products offered by Islamic financing institutions are currently developed by based on the two concepts, namely Bayyinah and Tawarruk. Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad has used the concept of Tawarruk in offering personal financing as well as housing financing as well as bank kerjasama projects. The offering of products based on the principles of Sharia Tawarruk is still in its infancy for banks in Malaysia, and most banking institutions offer financing products based on the concept of Bayyinah. Meanwhile, for housing financing, the majority of banking institutions apply the concept of bitamal ajil and musyarakah mutanakisah financing. Roughly speaking, the concepts of tawarruk and bayyinah has similarities in terms of the goals and objectives of the contract applied. Islamic financial institutions use the bayyinah and tawarruk concept in contracts for the same purpose, namely to obtain cash and liquidity needs. In the context of muamalah, the term tawarruk refers to a transaction that takes place in two stages. The first involves the buyer making a purchase on credits from the original seller of an item, and the second involves the buyer selling the asset in cash to third party after the first making the purchase on the credit from the original seller. Deposit products finance asset management, risk management, and other areas of management are all widely used. Finally, I will draw a conclusion that can be drawn based on the title presented. If the bayyinah instrument is done intentionally and contains elements of conditional loan of sale, conditional sale and purchase related to the muwata'ah and the use of non-sharia compliant risks, the application is prohibited because it violates the existing syarak maqasid in the prohibition of sharia. Based on this finding, any Inah an instrument in the banking and financing industry in Malaysia, especially in personal financing as well as containing such prohibition, makes it Sharia non-compliant, even though it was originally allowed by Shafi'i and Al-Shafi'ah, if such prohibition can be avoided by Al-Inah, can be published short. The variety of products offering by financial institution is able to give customer the option to option Sharia compliant financing and be able to compete with existing conventional financial institution. Although the majority of ulama and Sharia bodies from Islamic financial institutions around the world have adopted tower contracts in Malaysia banking products as well as Malaysia, the application of tower, especially tower munazat, need to be implemented carefully, and so that its implementation does not conflict with Sharia principles. That's all from me and our group. I hope you guys can understand. Thank you.